Good day. In this video, we are going to talk about Mango Tree's continuous assessment model. The best way to assess pupils' literacy attainment is continuously. Children can easily fall behind, especially in the early stages of learning to read and write. Research shows that young children who don't acquire a strong foundation in reading and writing earlier on find it very difficult to catch up later. This is sometimes called the Matthew effect, referring to the text in the book of Matthew that says that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's the same with literacy. The pupils who master reading early on will continue to make positive academic gains, while the pupils who lag behind in reading in P1 just grow further behind as their schooling continues. Therefore, it's very important that teachers monitor their pupils' performance closely in early primary and modify their teaching to make sure as many pupils as possible become successful readers. Let's look at this illustration showing two primary school teachers. The teacher on the left is moving through the curriculum without continuous assessment. Only one child is keeping with the teacher. Many children are falling behind and some have already given up. The teacher on the right is assessing our pupils on a regular basis and moving at their pace, making sure all the children are keeping up. She may not be moving as fast through the curriculum as the first teacher, but in the end, more of our pupils will succeed. This video will show you how Mango Tree's continuous assessment model works, so that you can be more like the second teacher, moving with your pupils as you teach them to read and write. To understand Mango Tree's model, you first have to understand the Ministry of Education and Sports competency-based curriculum. The Ministry of Education and Sports has a competency-based curriculum. A competence is a specific task or skill that a pupil can actively demonstrate to the teacher. This means that the ministry wants teachers to be asking the question, what can my pupils do? The Ministry of Education and Sports organizes literacy competences into 4 areas: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Pupils are expected to demonstrate their ability to read, write, listen, and speak to the teacher. In the Mango Tree's model, we begin by clearly defining what pupils should be able to do at the end of each term in the areas of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. We call these the key literacy competencies. We show the key literacy competencies in 4 easy-to-read tables at the beginning of each term. In addition, each table indicates the week a specific competence will be taught and assessed. In this example, you can see that there are 8 reading competencies that will be covered in P1 Term 1. Let's look more closely at number 3, the ability to handle a book properly. The teacher will be working on this competence from the orientation week at the beginning of the term through week 6. By the 6th week, pupils should be able to demonstrate to the teacher that they know how to handle a book correctly in class. In addition to the key literacy competences at the beginning of the term, the teacher's guide also lists the competences to be covered each week. Assessment activities are built into every Mango Tree lesson. Typically, Ugandan classrooms are large with 70 to 100 pupils in a class. Therefore, we suggest a teacher select about 5 pupils each day to demonstrate their competence in the identified literacy scale. This means that a teacher can assess about 25 pupils in a given literacy competence in a week. If a teacher has 100 pupils, she will need about a month to assess all the pupils. With about 3 months in a term, this indicates a teacher should have the opportunity to see each pupil demonstrate a competence 3 times in a term if necessary. Mango Tree recognizes that it's not easy for a teacher with 100 pupils to implement a continuous assessment model. That's why we have integrated assessment activities into every lesson and provided teachers with an easy-to-use tool to track pupils' progress. We call this tool the Continuous Assessment Monitoring Form. There are several key features of the CAM form that make it easy for teachers to use. The CAM form is organized by lesson so that you can easily identify the competencies to assess. The letters R, W, L, and S at the top of the form refer to the key literacy competencies: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The competencies listed here can also be found in the key literacy competencies tables at the beginning of each term. This column is for you to write the names of the pupils. This column is for assigning numbers to your pupils. The bold horizontal lines divide pupils into groups of 5. This allows you to assess 5 pupils during a given lesson. The CAM form is filled over the course of one term. You should make enough copies of the template so that there is a line for every pupil in your class. Each form has space for 15 pupils. So do the maths and be sure you keep the template blank so you can use it to make copies again next year.
Should be used on daily basis. And when you are using it and when you pick like around 5 learners for that lesson, maybe the other lesson you pick 5, the coming lesson you pick 5, you keep moving like that. When you have done like that and you find that at the end of the week, at least you have assessed more than 20 to 30. When you are teaching, you normally assess your learners, and when you are assessing them, only that in the past, you normally don't record, but you assess them as you pick them to tell you what you want them to do. That is assessment. So now it is now good that we have been given the tools. As we pick them to do what we want them to do, we record.
The CAM form should be used every day in the classroom. It should be out on your desk and beside the prep book in which you keep your daily lesson plans. It should be within your eyesight so that you can select the pupils who will demonstrate the competence that day at the end of each lesson. We suggest you use the following 3 symbols to keep track of your pupils' performance. Plus means pupils' performance exceeds the competence. A tick means a pupil is able to perform the competence. 0 means the pupil is not yet able to perform the competence to the expected standard. If you write small, you can fit 4 symbols into each box. Here is an enlarged example of one box in the Continuous Assessment Monitoring Form that shows how you can potentially make 4 assessments of a pupil over the course of a term. Now let's look at a CAM form that has been completed by a teacher for one term. All the information in this form will be used by the teacher to complete the report card. This is a good example of a CAM form. You will find that the names of pupils are correctly entered. In each of these boxes, there are symbols that have been inserted and they represent the learner's competence. The CAM form is the main assessment tool you will use during the term, but because continuous assessment is a new concept for most Ugandan teachers, we also provide a box in the weekly lesson plan section of the teacher's guide with other suggestions for daily continuous assessment activities that you can use. I will ask your facilitator to pause the video now so you can review what you have learned about continuous assessment monitoring form in small groups and ask any questions you may have. Although continuous assessment is the foundation of our assessment model, we also believe it is useful for the teacher to assess pupils at the end of each term on a selected set of competences. We provide teachers with end-of-term assessment tests they can use to gain additional information on pupil performance. Teachers can decide to assess all the pupils in their class using these tools if they want more data on individual performance. They can also use the tools to randomly sample a percentage of pupils to give them data on general class performance in specific competencies. Here are a few samples of end-of-term assessment tests we provide for teachers. Visual discrimination test, term 1. Initial sound test, term 1. Letter name knowledge test, terms 2 and 3. Reading fluency test, term 3. The teacher's guide gives you all the information you need to administer this test effectively at the end of the term. The information you gather about pupils' performance needs to be shared with the parents. One way to do this is through a timely report card. We have taken the Ministry of Education and Sports approved report card format and modified it to include the specific literacy competences we focus on each term. We also translate the report card into Lebanon. During a school meeting in term 1, parents are given copies of report card, and CCTs and ED teachers explain to parents how to interpret the report card and support their children's progress at home. Teachers are also encouraged to attach work samples in writing and spelling to the report card so that parents can see real examples of their children's work.
We normally hold meetings, parents' meeting. We normally explain the details in the report card to the parents, and most of our parents are now aware of the grading system organized by Magna-Free, and they are getting used to it. Most of them are very happy. They are giving feedback.
I learned that it is very easy even for parents who do not know English to perceive the things in the child's report.
One of the major challenges we face as educators developing instructional materials for local language literacy is that there are no clearly defined benchmarks for pupils' attainment in reading and writing. How many words per minute should a child in Lao be able to read in our language by the end of P1? At what point should a child be able to write their full name or write a complete sentence in Lao? Since these benchmarks don't exist, we are in the process of trying to define them. I now want to give the word to our teachers so they can tell you what they think about the continuous assessment model.
Challenge to assess a big size of class. I manage in a way that when you don't forget, when you are teaching a lesson like now, a 30-minute lesson, you need not to forget to assess that 5 learners. The other lesson comes, you again assess the other 5. The other one comes, you assess the other 5. Because it becomes a problem when you leave, when you forget. You keep just teaching like that, you teach for a week, and you just forget, you remind yourself, I have not assessed my learners, I have not recorded. So that week gone. The other coming week, still move like that. It becomes a problem when you have the large class. But when you are doing it daily, on daily basis, you manage it. And you don't get a lot of problem in that.
I hope our continuous assessment model became clearer for you now. I will ask your facilitator to discuss this topic in a group. Thank you for your attention and good luck with your lessons.